We're learning about the receiving of the Torah. And Moshe took the Jewish people out of Egypt. That was in the middle of the Jewish month of Nisan. And they traveled through the desert for 50 days. 50 days, and then they received the Torah. On the 50th day after they left Egypt, they received the Torah. But before that, like a week before they received the Torah, a little bit less, they had to make certain preparations. So first of all, we're going to learn about the preparations that they made before they received the Torah. Now they're in the desert. B'chodesh HaShlishi, on the third month, the month that they left Egypt, that's called the first month. That's the first month of the Jewish year, first month of the Jewish year. As far as the days go, it's the middle of the Jewish year. The first day of the Jewish year, as far as days go, that's Rosh Hashanah. That's Rosh Hashanah. That's the Jewish New Year's. That symbolizes the sixth day of creation, when man was created. Rosh Hashanah, the Jews. And man had been created like 2,448 years before that. Then 2,448 years later, the Jews got out of Egypt. And we can go back a little bit before that. 2,000 years after the world was created, a little bit less, came along Abraham. 2,000 years. And about 400, something like 50 years after Abraham came the Torah. Torah was given. So the Jewish people got out of Egypt, and 50 days after they got out of Egypt, they received the Torah. All right. 6 days before they received the Torah, they entered the desert of Sinai. That's what it's called, desert of Sinai. So on the third month, from the Jews leaving Egypt, what does it mean the third month? They left Egypt in the middle of the first month. That's 1 month. Then they hold the whole entire second month. That's the month of Iyar. And all this time they're doing a commandment, which is called counting the Omer. 7 weeks. They're doing Sfirat Omer, counting the Omer. And then in the beginning of the third month of leaving Egypt, that's called the month of Sivan. That's what we call it now. Back then they didn't call it the name of the month. The Jews entered the desert of Sinai. On this day, they came into the desert of Sinai. Bayom Hazeh, which day was it? It doesn't say which day it was. It just says on this day, Bayom Hazeh Rosh Chodesh. It was the first day of this month. Lo Yatzorach Lichtov. It should have said Bayom Hahu. What does it mean Bayom Hazeh? Right? On the third month, the Jewish people, through 3 months after the Jewish people left Egypt, in the beginning of the third month, after leaving Egypt, on that day, Bayom Hazeh, it doesn't say that day, it says on this day. It should have said Bayom Hahu. Why does it say on this day? Well, God knows what he's doing. He wrote this word Hazeh. Why? To show you, what does it mean, Hayom Hazeh? Sheyu divrei Torah chadashim elecha. The words of Torah should be brand new, ke'ilu hayom nitnu, just like you received them today. Here we have the Baal HaTurim. All these commentaries are very interesting, but let's just take a couple of them. Here's the Baal HaTurim. Baal HaTurim is Yaakov ben Asher, the son of the the son of the Rosh of Rabbeinu Asher. He wrote a book called The Tur. It says, third month, Samach Lamar, it says before Sha'omru. Why 3 months? Because it says like this. There's a law, an interesting law in Judaism, that a woman who converts, or a woman that was imprisoned, or a servant woman that was freed, an Eved Kanani, shifcha kananit, a non-Jewish woman servant that was freed. So all of these three are Jews. A woman, she converts, or she's a slave that gets freed is considered to be a total Jew. So, but the law is that even though they're free, they're not allowed to get married for the first 3 months after. Why? Or the same thing is a Jewish woman that was taken into captivity because there's a worry that maybe they had been raped when they were in captivity or when before they converted. And if they get married, the child will be noticeable. It'll be noticeable that they're pregnant in the 3rd month. So then if you can see that they're pregnant, then they won't get married until they have the child, so that they won't connect the child to the new husband, right? So therefore, when they go out of slavery, or a woman that becomes converted or something like that, so to make sure that she's not pregnant from before she was released or before she converted, so she has to wait for 3 months, so that they know to who is the child. If the child came from before to some strange man, or to this new man that she's going to get married to now. So she waits for 3 months. She's sure she's not pregnant. And therefore, they have to wait 3 months. Liyom, I'm sorry. They have to wait until the time till they get married. 3 months. Liyom, until all those Jewish people had to wait from coming out of Egypt for 3 months before the giving of the Torah. What happened in the giving of the Torah? That's when they got married to God. The Jewish people, the Matan Torah was considered to be a wedding between God and the Jewish people. So that's why it took 3 months, because otherwise it's not really so understandable. Why didn't God just give them the Torah immediately? If he wanted to take them out of Egypt, and if they want to cross the sea, and then that's it, give them the Torah. So that's why, because you had to wait for these 3 months. All right, that's sort of a midrash idea. Here, the Orach Chaim is an interesting thing. It says, he asked that question. Orach Chaim HaKadosh says, why, Ime lama shekadem me'otzem chivasa yisberech b'gad cheshchu latet lahem aruseitem zota Torah. Why didn't God give them the Torah before? Lamani takev, the language of the Orach Chaim is a little bit difficult. But why did God wait with the Torah, mitet la Torah, ad chodesh shlishi? Why did he have to wait 3 months? Okay, we learned a little bit of a drush over here from the Baal HaTurim. Why did he have to wait 3 months? Because of the tremendous love that God had, he shouldn't have waited for so long to give them maybe you can say, well, listen, that's how far it was. Maybe you can say, what do you mean? Why did he wait? He didn't wait. He wanted to give God promised Moses at the burning bush. The burning bush was on Mount Sinai. He promised Moses at the burning bush that he would give the Torah on this mountain. The Jews would serve God on this mountain. So that's how far it was. He says, well, that's not a very good answer, because we see that when Abraham sent his servant Eliezer to find a wife for Yitzchak, kaftzalo aderech, that he made it go a long journey. He made it very quickly. Ubelechto lekachas isha, when he went to go to take a wife for Yitzchak, Abraham's daughter. Much more so, it should be, that's just to marry one person. But here, all the Jewish people are getting married to God. All the Jews are getting married to God. So if the road jumped for, in order to marry off Yitzchak, the son of Abraham, so how much more so it should jump for here. Also, the heavens and the earth, they all need this marriage. The whole world depends on this. Asher that Alkein bo Kodesh Baruch Hu v'natan amasla ledavar ki lo miut hacheshek. It wasn't because God delayed them, but because hachsharat hachatan, The reason why God delayed the Jews so long was in order to get himself ready. Yisrael, and also the Jewish people also weren't ready. And also the bride wasn't ready. She wasn't ready because she had been in an unclean land. That's what the Balaturim said. You had to wait for 3 months. They were like a nida. So therefore they had to count 7 days of Torah. Now the laws are a Jewish woman, in order to be pure for her, in order to be, pure for her husband, she has to be without any menstrual blood for 7 days. So the same thing, the Jewish people counted 7 also, but in this case it was 7 weeks. This is corresponding to the 7 clean days that God, therefore they had to be, the Jewish people therefore took a long time. That's what it means, let's say B'nai Israel. That's the reason why Hashem delayed it so long, because they came out of Egypt. Who was Soviet, therefore he waited until the 3rd month. And the proof is when the days came close to the actual giving of the wedding, the giving of the Torah, as he said to them, Bayom Hazeh, on this day. In other words, this is the day that I've been waiting for, said God. This is the day that they. So you can look into it and you can see the tremendous desire that Hashem had, that immediately, as soon the first possible possibility that God had in the 3rd month, God gave the Torah. Right. Right. So that shows on the tremendous love that God had the Jewish people. So it says also here, as soon as the time came, the first possibility that he could to give the Jews the Torah, he gave it, but they just had to wait and count these what's called 7 weeks. The Yisumi Refidim, the Jewish people traveled from this place called Refidim, and they came to Midbar Sinai. Now it already said that they came to Midbar Sinai. So they came to Midbar Sinai. What does it have to tell us where they came from? We knew that where they were. You're going to see, they'll ask this question. Vayachanu b'midbar, vayichan Yisrael neged ahar, and the Jewish people camped opposing the mountain around them. Okay, it should have said vayachanu. A little bit of a mistake here, right? It says, of course, it's not a mistake. God knows what He's doing. It says that the Jewish people, He camped. It doesn't say they camped. The Jewish people, He camped, right? According to simple grammar, it should have said vayachanu sham Yisrael. The Jewish people, they camped. What does it mean? He camped. So Rashi says vayichan ke'esh echad b'lev echad. The Jewish people were like one person with one heart. But all of the other encampments that the Jewish people made, they had 42 encampments that they made in the desert. 42. All of the rest of them were batarumos, were all sorts of complaints and arguments. So it says, why does it have to tell us where they came from? The Jewish people came from Refidim. We already know that. It says it before in the previous Torah portion. It said they came from Refidim. That's when they complained about the water, that the Moshe struck the rock over there. Lama hutzrich lachzor. Well, the Parish, what do you have to know where they came from? Halo kavar kasav. It already says that they came from Refidim. They were camping. It's known that they came from there, from this place of Refidim. But it's coming to tell us that just like from Refidim, this place of Refidim, they came from doing tshuva. Also from Refidim, they did tshuva. They requested from Moshe, they wanted water. Remember the story over here? Let's go back here. Let's go back a little bit and we'll see this Refidim. This is last week's Torah portion. 1 minute, 1 minute. To go back for can I do this? No. No, this is last week. It won't go back. All right. Anyway, you should know that that's where they were. Well, let's go back to that. I don't think so. Oh, here it is. Here. This is the end of last week's Torah portion. There it says, it says, Midbar Sin Lemasehem al Pi Hashem Vayechanu Refidim, and they were in a place called Refidim, and they didn't have what water to drink. So we already knew that they were in Refidim, but what does it have to tell again that they were in Refidim? So let's look and see. Here we go. We skipped a lot of this for the what happened with Yitro in between. Oh. All right. They wanted to Refidim, so it says, why did you have to tell us that it was in Refidim? Why? So it says, here it says, question, why does it have to say Refidim? Maybe we can say like this, love makes a person a little bit sort of crazy. So therefore, the Torah sort of started off, that the Jewish people went from Refidim, they came to Midbar Sinai, and they camped over there. What does it have to start off and say, on the third month they came to Midbar Sinai? It should have started off here. You didn't need that first sentence. The first sentence says the Jewish people went from Refidim, they came to Midbar Sinai, and they camped where the mountain. That's all. What did it? It says because of the great love that God has for the Jewish people, that He wanted to give them the Torah. So the first thing He started off was that the third month they came to Midbar Sinai, and He doesn't care about where they came from, right? That's what the Or HaChaim answers. So therefore, he just said immediately the Jewish people. This is what we did before. Oh. So he said that the love, Bayomahu, on that day they came into Midbar Sinai. Higia, Chashuk, Benechshak, Chashuk, V'Chashuk, V'Simcha Shamayim. They came the desirous day that God was waiting for to get married to the Jewish people, the great joy, because this is the this day, this is the whole purpose of the creation, and the whole hope afterwards. Therefore, it lets us know all of this. So this is the general principle, and then now is the biggest event that ever happened in the history of the world, that the Jewish people came to Mount Sinai. That's what it says. They came to Mount Sinai. It already said it. There's just the previous sentences they came into Sinai, right? Why? Because it's just showing to show these main important things, that by means of this, the Jewish people were preparing themselves to to receive the Torah. Three things. Number one, that they wanted to work and learning the Torah. A person has to be, how do you say, full of energy. Therefore, it says the Yisumi Refidim. Refidim means to be weak. Therefore, you have to go away from your weakness. You have to strengthen yourself and be very, very, how do you say, industrious and alive to learn the Torah. So you have to get away from Refidim, get away from being weak. Number two is that you have to be humble. That's what it means that they camped in the desert. Desert shows on aloneness and humility. These are the three prerequisites. And the third one is that you have to have a total heart. You have to be wholehearted. Therefore, it says all of the Jews camped like one person. You have to have Ahavat Yisrael, love of all other Jews. There has to be unity between the Jews. These three things are necessary. You have to get away from refidim, get away from laziness. You have to camp in the desert. You have to be humble. And also you have to strive for unity with all Jewish people. Okay, let's see how much we can get done here. Number 3. Pasuk number 3. Moshe went up to God, and God called to him from the mountain, saying, "This is what you should say to Beit Yaakov and tell to Bnei Israel." Okay, here it seems a little bit strange. Moshe went up to God. God didn't call him up. He just went up on his own. And after Moshe went up, then God called to him from the mountain. Okay, so he's going to ask a question. It's going to be very interesting. And maybe I can just give you the answer, but let's see. It says, Moshe went up on the second day. On the first day, they arrived at Mount Sinai, and the desert of Sinai. The second day, Moshe went up. Right? The first day they camped. The second day Moshe went up to the mountain, woke up. He said, "This is what God said, LeBeit Yaakov. Beit Yaakov, these are the women." He spoke to them. Taged means in a nice way. I'm sorry. Tomar means in a nice way. But Taged means like Gidim, means like severe onishim, diktukim, davrim kashim kagidim, like sinews, very, very harsh. God spoke to the men, but very, very nicely God spoke to the women. Oh, it says, let's see if we can find this over here. Okay, here we have, what is it? Orach Chaim. It said, Orach Chaim is the Rav Chaim ben Atar. He said, we have to understand, why did Moshe go up on the mountain before God called him? We also have to understand, where did Moshe go up to? It just says that Moshe went up to God. Right? Let's look and see. What does it say? For Moshe Allah Elohim, he went up to God. Where did he go? Where did he go up to? It should have said Moshe went up on the mountain. And if you want to say that he went up on the mountain, so it should have said that he went up to the mountain. Where did he go? It says, this is what it says in the Pesach Tehillim, in the sentence in Tehillim, Allah Marom, Moshe went up to the heavens. But according to this, it's very difficult. And afterwards, we see that God called to him from the mountain. So where did he go up to in the heavens that God called to him from the mountain? The whole thing doesn't seem to make any sense. It says, Vayikra Hashem Elokim, right? It says Moshe went up to God, and then God called to him from the mountain. Where exactly did he go? So he says like this. I'm in the wrong place. So he says, like, the intention is like this. You remember that what happened way back then when Moshe, before he started taking the Jews out of Egypt, well, God saw him in on the mountain, which that was Mount Sinai, on the burning bush. So God told him at the burning bush, he told him, Moshe, you don't know who you are, Moshe. You're going to take all the Jewish people out of Egypt. And when you take the Jews out of Egypt, they are going to serve God on this mountain. So God showed him that this is the place where they're going to receive the Torah. Therefore, as soon as they reached the mountain, so Moshe, he was like a good servant. He was a faithful servant to God. And he said, oh, this is the mountain where I'm going to serve God. So he went up on the mountain. God already told him that you're going to serve God. So he just went up. He said, I want to serve. Just tell me what to do. Moshe, God didn't have to tell Moshe again to go up on the mountain. He already remembered what it was before. That's what it says, that Moshe went up to God. This is the reason. What does it mean? He went up to Elohim. He went up to God. What does it mean he went up? It means that he went up. He was just interested in serving God. So he went up to get orders, get more orders. And therefore he didn't want to show any sort of laziness or whatever. And therefore he went up on Mount Sinai. And here is a very interesting thing. He says, let's see if I can find this in the end. Is that here? All right. That's what he went up. All right, we're going to see. I don't remember who says this. Oh. Okay, that's what it meant. Yes, so he brings it. Where is this? Maybe this is the. Could it be here? I'm sorry, I just forgot where this place was. I thought it was here. Anyway, it says that this shows us a very big secret in serving God. If you want to serve God, it has to start from you. First of all, a person serves God, and then afterwards, oh, here it is. Perusho, Kishakodim hu, Moshe first went up to the mountain, then immediately God called to him. So you should know this is the way of holiness. It has to begin by you. This is what it says in the Zohar. It says in the Zohar that only through an arousal from below will be an arousal from above. This is the secret of what it says. This is what it says in the beginning of creation, that there was a mist that went up from the earth, and then afterwards came rain from heaven. So the arousal has to come from below first, and only that does God reply. So that's what it means. Moshe went up on the mountain first. Okay, so it says, you have seen what I got. God says like this, tell the Jews, he tells the Moshe, this is what you should say to the Jewish women and say to the Jewish men. What should you say? Jews, you have seen what I did to Mitzrayim, that I have lifted you up on the wings of eagles, and I have brought you to me. Okay, I have lifted you up. This is the day, let's see. It says, I have lifted you up on the wings of eagles. What does it mean? Of eagles? Why eagles? Eagles. What's an eagle? It says, I have lifted you up. I have born you, I did a lot of miracles for you. What does it mean? I have lifted you up on the wings of eagles. What is that supposed to mean? So Rashi says it's like an eagle. I don't know if this is true according to biology. You can check it out. But it says that eagles carry their young on their wings. All the other birds, if they're carrying their young, they grab them with their feet, as we see any other, because they're afraid of birds that are flying on top of them. But the eagle flies higher than any other birds, so it's only afraid from men who are below that might shoot arrows, because no other bird can fly higher than an eagle. Therefore, the eagle bears its young on their wings and says it's better that there should come arrows into me than into my sons, my children. Also the same thing, God says the same thing. Vayisa malach Elokim. I mean, you can say like this. I mean, here we see there's a lot of Jews in the world. I don't want to say anything bad about the Jews, but you see that there's a lot of Jews in the world that are totally against the Torah, and they do the worst possible sins in the world, that you can't possibly imagine. And especially in the land of Israel, right? The land of Israel, they like defy God, and they officially, there's no Shabbos, and there's no, the religious people they keep, but the non-religious, whether they care about this, they don't care about nothing. And we see that that they do okay, but exactly the opposite. This is a big blemish on God. Come on, God. I mean, listen, you rule the whole world. It says in the Torah, a person that doesn't keep Shabbos is that there's a terrible punishment. So if you eat not kosher, terrible punishment. Here we see all these people doing all these terrible sins, and there's no punishments. So what's the answer? God says, let all the punishments come to me. I'll take the punishments. I'll take all of the arrows. but I'm going to protect the Jewish people. I don't care what it's going to be. I'm protecting them. And that's what we see has been going on for the last 2,000 years. And so it is. That shows the tremendous love of God for the Jewish people. That's what it says. Similarly, when they left Egypt, it says that the Egyptians were throwing all sorts of slinging arrows and things like that at them, and the cloud of God stood between them, and it accepted these clouds. So I don't know if my explanation is even valid, but at least that's what I was thinking. Here we go. Balaturim. Here, listen to this. You, Atem, you have seen the miracles that I did from Egypt, and I took you on the wings of the eagles and brought you to me. You, what does it mean, you? No, here. I brought you to me. So it says, this day I brought you to me. This is a wedding day. Just like a woman, there's a Mishnah that says that according to Judaism, how does a man marry a woman? Well, there's three ways that a man officially marries a woman. Officially marries a woman. If he does one of these three things, then they have to get a divorce bill. And if they don't, if she doesn't, then she can never get married to anybody for the rest of her life. What are the three ways? If he gives her money and she accepts, if he gives her a document, a marriage document, and she accepts, and by sexual intercourse. So, of course, the last one is not done nowadays, but nevertheless, those are the three ways it says. No, okay. So it says, this is what God, now this is the marriage of God between the Jewish people. So first of all, God gave them, all three, gave them money, wanted to give them money, the riches that they took out of Egypt, and also the riches that they found at the Yam Suf. It says that the riches that the soldiers brought with them, because the Egyptian soldiers thought they were going to have a big party after they destroyed all the Jews, and it came out the opposite. And they brought all the riches with them, the Egyptian soldiers. And when they were all drowned, and they washed up, so there's tremendous riches. So that's the money. That's one way of marriage. Another way is with a deed. Give her the deed. What's the deed? That's the Torah. That's the Torah. And it's like it says, Morashah, Morasa. This is the Torah is the bill, the bill of marriage. And be a sexual intercourse. This is what it says, that I will spread my wings over you, and I will bring you in the brit and the covenant with you. That's what's going to be, keep my covenant. So that's Avi Alecha. It says Avi. Where is this? Avi. The Avi, right? That is the same letters as Bia. As Bia. Here we go. Where is this? Avi is the gematria. I'm sorry. It's the numerical value. Vi Avi is the same gematria as Bia in marital in conjugal relations. That makes a marriage. Here's the Orach Chaim. Here's the last two. Let's see if I can get this over here. Orach Chaim, the last one here. It says, okay, also, another one says that God said, I brought you to me. This wants to negate what other nations say. Now, I mean, there's other nations that say that they have the Bible. I mean, especially the Muslims and the Christians. The Muslims and the Christians, they say, maybe the Jews once had the Bible, or maybe they once had the interpretation, right? The Christians say, no, we've got the real interpretation. And the Muslims say the Jews lost the Bible. And there's a little bit of a support for this. Why? Because it says that God went to Seir and Paran. He said God went to Ishmael and Esav. Before he gave the Torah, it said that God went to the Arabs and he went to Esav, which that's basically all the, the Roman, and he said, you want us to receive the Torah? And they refused it. If so, you gave, right? They didn't want the Torah. So they said, if so what's the difference between them and the Jews? I mean, you went to them, and the same thing with the Jews. So he says The Jews are different. To those other non-Jews, they didn't really want the Torah. I had to go and offer it to them, and then they refused it. But the Jews, I didn't go to them. I brought them to me. Avi, Pirish al derech omrim, like it says, the pasuk, Vayikar Elokim et Bilam, Mashal Melech Shabo Ahavo, Shabo Ahavo, Ledaber Imo, Ad Kan. Says Bilam and the others, they came, right? They came to God whenever they needed him. I'm sorry, whenever they needed him, casually, or God visited them casually. It says, but here by the Jews, it says, I brought them to me. I sent you. God said, I, with the other nations, I went to their place and I offered them the Torah. And really, they didn't want it. That's why they waited until I came. And the reason that I did that is because in the future, when they say, hey, why did you do such good to the Jews? As I'll say, listen, you didn't come to me. I had to come to you, and you refused the Torah, which is not the case. The Jews, they came out, they came to me. I brought them to me, and they received the Torah. You because I know that the Jews wanted to come close to me. And that's what it says, Avi etchem alai. I brought you to me in a more permanent way. Let's just do this last one over here. V'ata, says God. God says, Moshe, tell the Jewish people like this. Ata, now, im shamot tishmu b'koli, if you listen to my voice, u'shemartem et briti, and you keep my covenant, v'yitem li segula, and you will be like a segula, like a special, how do you say, magical thing. Mikol Amim. He's going to say that's like there's a lot of fruits and vegetables and things like that and herbs. And there's certain herbs that if you take them, all of a sudden it helps your sight, and another herb helps your memory, and another herb it helps you walk, and another herb makes you young. In other words, so it says that's what it means, a segula. The Jewish people, they're like everybody else, but really that's what they look like on the outside, but really it's a segula, just like certain plants have a certain thing. That's what the Or HaChaim is going to say, and let's see if we can see this. Rashi says, you will be me, you will be for me, if you keep my covenant that I'm going to make you right now with the Torah, then you will be a segula. And Rashi says segula means otzer chaviv, a precious, hidden, how do you say, hidden treasure. Kamo segulas malachim, like the treasures of a king. Kli yakor v'avonim, all sorts of precious vessels and gems that the kings hide them away. So also you will be to me special for all in relation to all the other nations. Don't say that if so, the Jews might say, okay, so all you care about is us. You don't care about anybody else. It says, the ein li acherim imachem, ma yesh li od shetahei chivatchem nikeret. Says, I'll tell you what, the fact is the whole world belongs to me. The whole world really belongs to me. So don't think that all I have is just you. You're the only ones, right? The fact of the matter is the whole world belongs to me, but nevertheless, hein be'enai ulefanai laklum. The other nations of the world, if they don't do what I want, they're absolutely nothing. By me, the Jewish people, they're special, even if you don't do what I want. They're special. Because the Jewish people, they have inside of them this ability to rectify the whole world, to bring the whole world back on the tracks. That's what the Or HaChaim says over here. This is no. Here it is. Here it is. Ah. No, I lost it somewhere. Here it is. Here it says Heisim li segula. So the intention is there's just like a segula. Segula means like a special charm. These are the things which are not according to nature, because we can find there's a lot of like herbs that they have a special nature to them to heal certain diseases or coldness or whatever. Some of the make you warm, some of it make you cold. And so this is not a nature. This is a segula. This is something sort of a special thing that has in this. There's a lot of also branches and trees and things like that. This is the same thing with the Jewish people. The Jewish people come have a special segula, which that's the Torah and the commandments. And when you link the Torah and the commandments with the Jews, then there's a special blessing that comes out to the world. There's no nation in the world that recognizes God like you do. And that's what he says also. It says the Jewish people, when they were on Mount Sinai, it said that there was no more death in the world. This is the special segula, the special charm of the Jews from all of the other nations. Namely, the Jewish people have this ability to raise the dead if they want to attach themselves to the Torah. So that's the special, that the Jewish people can bring true life into the world, and that is through the Torah. And that's what we'll stop with today. Thank you very much. God bless you, and see you tomorrow at 8:15 in the morning. Shalom.